So I've started rebuilding the bunks and building out the interior here a little bit more. These side pieces for the bunks will be permanent. I have these supports glassed into the hull, and they kind of end here where the face frame for the engine compartment goes. And then on the sides I have panels, I already have them made. I'll have to show you later, but I have to do a little bit more fitting. But those panels can be removed on either side, and then that way you have pretty much full access to the engine if you ever need to work on it. So right now I'm getting ready to paint some of these bulkheads. I've already painted a couple spots in here just with some primer, one coat. I just want to get these bulkheads, they were still bare wood, so I want to get those sealed. These were coated in epoxy, but I've got that sanded, and then I'm going to go ahead and put primer on that too. And need to coat these and all this other bare plywood so that I can sand and rinse all this whole area with water. Makes cleanup a whole lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so I got this stuff primed, and now that it's fairly well protected, I'm going to move on to some more sanding back here. I've already been sanding over there on that bulkhead, and I've been sanding back in here. This is where the old icebox was, so this was just like all foamed and it was terrible. But it's starting to look a lot better. Need to do some more sanding down here. This is the old icebox lid or hatch, and I fiberglassed that over a long time ago, but I need to fill this in a little bit because you can see there's a gap in here. So I need to figure out a way to kind of fill that in a little bit and then put some glass over it so I have a nice smooth, or at least smoother surface. Other than that, I'm getting pretty close to being able to paint the hull in here. The only other thing I need to add is the shelves up here on both sides. And then that's pretty much it for as far as like tabbing stuff to the hull goes. Alright, so I've got the fairing compound on there, and I did some fillets along these edges on the back too, and did a little bit more fairing under there. So I'm gonna sand that down and then put a layer of glass over that. Probably also gonna put a layer of glass down here. There's some unevenness and some areas where I gouged a little deeper whenever I was removing some tabbing. I don't think it's a big deal, but I'm gonna spread out some thickened epoxy, fill these low spots, and then just put a layer of glass over that whole area, strengthen it up a little bit, and give me a nicer surface to work with. So time to do some more sanding. I got this stuff glassed in. Should be cured now, and I've started using peel ply, and it's pretty much changed my life. Can't believe it took me this long to start using it. And I tried to use it up there too, but it was a little hard to. It was just really hard fiberglassing overhead. I just put one thin layer, but so we'll see how that turned out. I've started fitting these shelves back in. This was an original piece that came down. It was glass to the hull on one side and came down and supported the original shelf, so that I kind of worked off of that and got the right width for the shelf, and then I made another support piece over there, and now I'm gonna work on getting it glassed into the hull, and same thing on this side. I've gotten these shelves tabbed in and primed. There's one over there. And I'm going to kind of put this on hold down here for now. And I'm going to focus on getting the port lights installed, the fixed port lights. There was some cracks in the wood, and these I kind of cut out a little bit with a Dremel, and I filled this with thickened epoxy mixed with some teak dust. I think it looks alright. Over here I tried a different filler. It's like a Minwax wood filler. It's basically kind of like Bondo or something. And it looks okay, I guess, but I didn't really like, you have like no working time with it, so I was basically barely able to fill these two cracks here, and then it was done. And I think this route will be less noticeable, so I have some more cracks I need to fill. I've already kind of cleaned these out with the Dremel, so now I just need to go back and fill them with some thickened epoxy. So this is our only opening port light on the boat, and I had it re-chromed. And I'll show some of the footage of how it looked before. I think it turned out pretty good. Alright, well, it's a mess right now, but we've been working on prepping all this woodwork for some varnish. So this was a piece that was missing. It was really heavily damaged, this old piece of veneer, so I ended up ripping it off and replacing it with a new piece, and got that all glued back in. Turned out pretty good. Having a lot of trouble sanding certain spots around these cockpit coamings. A lot of it you just can't get to, so it's pretty much just all hand sanding. But it's starting to look pretty good. So right now I'm working on the windows, and I've got all these roughly cut out to size. I made some patterns out of this MDF, and I just put it up against the back side of the window and traced the outline, and then I expanded it 1 inch, and then I traced that onto this Lexan, and I went around and cut it out a little bit bigger than it needs to be. I'm going to come back and clamp that pattern on here and flush cut it with the router. Come on. Get out there. Alright, well, check this out, guys. I have one port light installed. What do you think? So I installed this using 3M VHB double-sided tape, and also filled the rest in with some Dow 795, I think is what it's called. Yeah, I think it looks alright. I like it. I just need to install all these other ones. Alright, so this is what I used to install it. This is a 3M VHB tape. And this is there's a bunch of different ones, but this is the one that they recommend for this application. And it's like a 1/8 inch thick, so it leaves you a gap to squeeze in the sealant. And this is Dow 795. And then for the little black strip, I just used this Krylon Fusion paint. It's supposed to be one of the best paints for adhering to Lexan. And that I painted that strip so that you wouldn't see the tape and the sealant, because I'm sure there's going to be a weird joint there. Since the windows are clear, I didn't want you to be able to see the sealant and tape. I'll go over in the next video how I installed it, the whole process. I'd like to do things at least once before I film myself doing them, so I don't look like a complete idiot. But I'll be sure to document the other 7 windows, so should be plenty of content on that. But hopefully it works out. Usually this method is used on fiberglass gel coat areas, so I sealed the wood underneath with epoxy, so it's bonded to epoxy, and then also the paint on the window, the black paint. So I don't know, we'll see how long it lasts, but I'll go over it in more detail in the next video when I install the others. I think the black looks pretty good against the teak. A lot of people probably think that this method isn't gonna last very long, but I did quite a bit of research on it, and from what I found, people who have used it have had a lot of luck with it. Like I said, the only difference was they were installing it on gel coat and fiberglass, and I'm installing it on wood. Hopefully the epoxy that I used to seal the teak is going to be good enough. But I'll put a link in the description for the to the article that kind of outlines the whole process, and I think it's by Don Casey. But I'll put that in the description so you guys can take a look at it and let me know what you think. Do you think it's going to work, or do you think it's going to fail 2 months in? I hope not, but we'll find out. Alright, well, that's going to be it for this video. It's Saturday, so I'm going to keep working, getting some more stuff done. But I'll start working on the next video, and hopefully I'll have all the port lights installed in the next one. So Alright, thanks for watching. See you next time.